Well, 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 look who's decided to dust off the royal crown and take a little jaunt across the pond. King Charles III, yes, the same man who spent 70 years waiting for his mother to pass the throne, has suddenly discovered Canada exists. And not just any visit, mind you. This is the ultimate royal flex, delivering the speech from the throne in Ottawa on May 27, 2025. But here's where it gets delicious. This isn't some quaint Commonwealth tradition. This is geopolitical theater at its finest, and the puppet master pulling the strings might surprise you. Welcome to the most passive-aggressive royal visit in modern history, where every gesture is a middle finger wrapped in ermine and protocol. Let's talk timing, shall we? Because in politics, timing isn't just everything, it's the only thing. King Charles hasn't set foot in Canada as monarch for his entire 3-year reign. Cancer diagnosis? Fine, understandable. But suddenly when Donald Trump starts joking, or is he, about making Canada the 51st state, Charles develops an urgent need to practice his French and remind everyone who's actually on their money. This is no coincidence, folks. This is a chess move so calculated, so beautifully orchestrated, that it makes Game of Thrones look like checkers. The new Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, remember that name, we'll come back to him, has essentially weaponized the monarchy against Trump. And Charles? He's more than happy to be the weapon. Think about it. What's the most British thing you can do to an American president who's threatening your former colony? Send the king. Not just any king, the king. The one whose ancestors your country literally fought a war to get rid of. It's like diplomatic trolling on a global scale. But here's the kicker, and this is where our story gets truly fascinating. This visit is putting Charles in an impossible position between two of his relationships, his cozy new bromance with Trump and his constitutional duty to Canada. Spoiler alert, one of these relationships is about to get very, very messy. The Carney factor, banking on sovereignty. Enter Mark Carney, Canada's golden boy with a golden resume. Former governor of the Bank of Canada, former governor of the Bank of England, UN Special Envoy, and now, conveniently, Prime Minister of Canada. This man has more titles than a British period drama, and he's using every single one of them to orchestrate what might be the most brilliant political theater of 2025. Carney didn't just invite Charles to Canada, he practically summoned him. And why? Because Carney understands something that Trump clearly doesn't. Symbols matter. When you're dealing with a president who thinks he can tweet his way into annexing an entire country, you don't respond with angry press releases. You respond with a crown. But here's where Carney gets beautifully, ruthlessly clever. He's not just using Charles as a symbol of Canadian sovereignty, he's using him as a wedge between Britain and the United States. Think about it. Charles has been bending over backward to maintain his relationship with Trump. Personal letters, unprecedented second state visit invitations, even suggesting Trump could join the Commonwealth. But now Carney is forcing Charles to choose sides. And the choice is delicious in its simplicity. Support your constitutional role as King of Canada, or continue your love affair with the man who wants to eliminate Canada entirely. It's political chess played at a master's level, and Carney is holding all the pieces. But wait, there's more. Carney has publicly criticized Charles for giving Trump that historic second state visit invitation. He said Canadians weren't impressed. Diplomatic speak for, "You royally screwed us over." This isn't just political theater. This is a prime minister publicly dressing down his own head of state. When was the last time you saw that level of constitutional drama? Trump's royal dilemma. Now let's talk about Trump, because this is where our story gets absolutely surreal. Here's a man who has spent months fantasizing about adding Canada to his collection of states, and suddenly he's faced with the most awkward diplomatic situation imaginable. The king of the country he wants to annex is also the king who invited him for a cozy sleepover at Balmoral. Trump's relationship with the British royals has always been complicated. He claims to love them. They reportedly find him insufferable. Queen Elizabeth allegedly called him very rude after his last visit. But Charles has been playing the long game, maintaining cordial relations, sending personal notes, even floating the idea of making America an associate member of the Commonwealth. It's like watching someone try to diplomatically friend-zone a superpower. But here's Trump's problem. He can't attack Charles for visiting Canada without damaging his precious relationship with the British Crown. And he can't ignore the visit without looking weak in the face of what is, essentially, a royal middle finger to his annexation fantasies. The U.S. ambassador to Canada has already tried to downplay the visit, saying there are easier ways to send messages to America. Please stop using the king to make us look stupid. But it's too late. The message has been sent, received, and interpreted by the entire world. Canada has a king, and America doesn't. And here's the truly delicious part. Trump actually likes pageantry. He loves the pomp, the ceremony, the golden carriages, and fancy uniforms. So while he's publicly pretending this visit doesn't bother him, you know it's eating him alive that Charles is using all that royal splendor to defend Canada against him. Trump's latest response? Claiming he's moved from expecting Canada to become a state to merely desiring it. That's not political evolution. That's retreat disguised as diplomacy. The British Balancing Act. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Britain is performing a diplomatic circus act that would make Cirque du Soleil jealous. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is trying to maintain the special relationship with America, while his king is literally flying to Canada to defend their sovereignty against American ambitions. It's like watching someone try to be best friends with both people in a messy divorce. Britain needs American trade deals, especially post-Brexit, but they also can't afford to alienate the Commonwealth, and they certainly can't be seen abandoning their former colonies to American imperialism. They do. They send Charles to do their dirty work. Starmer gets to maintain plausible deniability. Oh, the king's visit? That's a constitutional matter, nothing to do with us, while Charles delivers the message that Britain still matters in North American politics. It's brilliant, cowardly, and absolutely typical of modern British diplomacy. But here's the problem. This strategy only works if Charles can pull off being both pro-Canada and pro-Trump simultaneously. And given that Trump wants to eliminate Canada as an independent nation, that's not just difficult, it's impossible. The British establishment is reportedly struggling to balance showing support for Canada without harming the UK's relationship with Trump. Struggle is an understatement. They're basically trying to serve two masters who want to destroy each other. The constitutional crisis. Nobody's talking about. Here's what makes this whole situation absolutely fascinating from a constitutional perspective. Charles is being forced to choose between his role as a British king and his role as King of Canada. And for the first time in modern history, those roles are in direct conflict. As King of the United Kingdom, Charles needs to maintain good relations with America for economic and strategic reasons. As King of Canada, he has a constitutional duty to support Canadian sovereignty against foreign threats, including American ones. It's the kind of constitutional crisis that legal scholars dream about and monarchs have nightmares over. And Carney knows this. He's not just inviting Charles to deliver a speech, he's forcing him to make a choice that will define his reign. Will Charles be the king who stood up to American imperialism, or the king who chose economics over constitutional duty? The speech itself is going to be fascinating to watch. Charles has to stay politically neutral while delivering a speech that is, by its very nature, a political statement. He has to appear supportive of Canadian sovereignty without directly criticizing Trump. It's like trying to declare war while maintaining diplomatic immunity. But here's what's really going to make headlines. This is only the third time in Canadian history that a monarch has delivered the speech from the throne. The last time was 1977 during Elizabeth's Silver Jubilee. The fact that Charles is breaking this tradition now, at this moment, with these tensions, sends a message so loud it doesn't need words. Every constitutional expert in the Commonwealth is watching this visit because it's going to set precedents that will echo for decades. Is the crown primarily British or Commonwealth? Can a monarch publicly oppose the foreign policy of major allies? How far can symbolic power be pushed before it becomes real political action? The Trudeau connection. Let's not forget about Justin Trudeau in all this, because his role in this drama is both pathetic and crucial. Here's a man who spent a decade as Prime Minister, managed multiple crises, and then got pushed out partly because he couldn't figure out how to handle Trump. Enter Carney, who within weeks of taking office has managed to turn the monarchy into an anti-Trump weapon. It's like watching the understudy come on stage and completely upstage the lead actor. Trudeau met with Charles just weeks before his resignation, probably hoping for some royal support in his final days. Instead, Charles saved all his constitutional firepower for Trudeau's replacement. The symbolism is brutal. Trudeau couldn't defend Canadian sovereignty, so Canadians replaced him with someone who could weaponize the crown itself. It's the ultimate political humiliation, being replaced by someone who can do your job better using the exact same tools you had access to. The global implications. But this story isn't just about Canada, Trump, or even Charles. This is about the future of the Commonwealth, the special relationship, and the global balance of power. If Charles can successfully use his symbolic authority to defend Canadian sovereignty against American pressure, it changes everything. Suddenly, the Commonwealth isn't just a ceremonial club for former British colonies, it's a potential counterweight to American influence. Other Commonwealth nations are watching this visit very carefully because it might provide a template for how to use royal symbolism against superpower pressure. Australia, New Zealand, and the Caribbean nations all have Republican movements. But if the Crown proves it can be an effective defense against foreign domination, suddenly monarchism looks a lot more attractive. From America's perspective, this visit is a nightmare scenario. They're being challenged not by military force or economic pressure, but by the oldest, most traditional form of political authority in the Western world. It's like being told you can't join the cool kids club because you don't have the right bloodline. And for Britain, they're discovering that their greatest diplomatic asset isn't their economy or their military, it's their king. Charles might be doing more to restore British global influence with this one visit than decades of post-Brexit trade negotiations. So what happens next? Charles delivers his speech, makes his diplomatic points, and flies home. But the implications of this visit will echo for years. Has he successfully defended Canadian sovereignty, or has he irreparably damaged Britain's relationship with America? Has he strengthened the Commonwealth or created a constitutional crisis that could end the monarchy in multiple countries? The truth is, nobody knows. This is unprecedented territory, and Charles is making it up as he goes along. But one thing is certain, this visit has turned the 76-year-old king into the most powerful piece on the global chessboard. Mark Carney has played his hand brilliantly. Trump has been outmaneuvered by ceremonial authority, and Charles has discovered that sometimes the most radical thing you can do is simply show up and remind everyone who you are. The crown is dead. Long live the crown, and may God save Canada, because apparently that's exactly what the king is trying to do.